All right, welcome to Tech Updates number 3. This week, we I learned how to connect my N8N automation stuff to Google APIs and get my LLMs, whether that be I think I was using Olama and local Llama models to write to Google Sheets. So there's probably 100 different Google things you can select for APIs inside of Google Cloud projects, but basically I wanted to interact with my Google stuff like emails and stuff. Got it to do that, and that worked. What else did I learn? Oh, I was going to research, can I build a Cloudflare tunnel for remote SSH app, or should I just learn TwinGate or Tailscale? And I actually did figure that out. I ended up getting TwinGate configured correctly, so I'll talk about that more later. All right, future research to do. On my list is to do more research on Image. Kind of sounds like the word image. It's a photo software. I've been trying to get Nextcloud to work, and I think I'm going to pivot and go towards Image for photo management in the home lab. All right, commands to remember: ss-tolpin and grep BitTorrent. So this was to help make sure all of my torrenting traffic was going out over my VPN and making sure none of it was leaking. If you're using BitTorrent and you're just pointing it towards your VPN for whenever you're torrenting stuff, it probably actually is leaking, whether it be the DNS requests or some of the BitTorrent protocols. I highly recommend go use Claude and help work through all of that and grep your netstat, or SS is the replacement for netstat, for checking your TCP stuff and sockets and see where your traffic's going and make sure it's all going where you think it's going. All right, things that I got done this week, and what did I build? I reconfigured my TwinGate Docker container to include host networking, and that's why I was stuck when I would connect to my remote network. So now when I'm out and about, I can use whatever I've got, my laptop or my phone, on TwinGate, and then connect back into my local network and then talk to any of my devices on my home network, including my home lab. So that is very useful, and it's much easier to use the overlay zero trust networking than to a traditional VPN back into your stuff. So pretty cool. Go read up on TwinGate. Really liking it. I also went through and cleaned up all my device names in the Google Wi-Fi, because I was just like, what are all these devices on my Wi-Fi? I ended up updating the DHCP reservations as well. I grouped all of my home lab and my devices together in a certain section, so that's easy for me to see and make sure they always have the same IP whenever, if the DHCP ever changes, and I don't have to worry about hard coding and keeping spreadsheets of hard coded IPs. I mentioned earlier I got the N8N automation to use Google APIs and jump in my email and forward newsletters to my Discord for ones that didn't have easy RSS feeds. So there was a couple ones that just could not get to work through RSS automation, and it was easier just to build an automation that jumped into my email, grabbed that email, and then forwarded that as a message. So that worked pretty well. I updated my bash RC files on my Linux boxes to have better shell prompts to like show my current directory and user and stuff like that, as well as to save timestamps to history when you run history commands. So I find that useful when you're going back and trying to look and see what you were doing. You can look at commands and how they're grouped together like that. I installed OpenWebUI in a Docker container, and that gives me a graphical front end for my Olama AI models. So now, instead of just using a command line to talk with different AI models that I've got running locally, I can go to a web interface that looks just like ChatGPT and has saved chat histories and has more options I can configure it to use in a graphical interface. So just kind of making it more user friendly. So that's kind of cool. Let's see, what else I do? Oh, I rotated Wi-Fi password and then knocked off all the stuff on my network I didn't want there, and found my Amazon Fire Stick was what I couldn't figure out what it was, and then Apple Watches were named weird. So I finally got every single device identified and named correctly. And so now nothing's on my network that I don't know about. All right, mistakes. So I've been trying to get Nextcloud set up, and for some reason there's just some bugs in it. When you try to deploy the Docker versions on TrueNAS scale, the apps, and whether you use the new version or an older version, and whether you use Postgres 17 or 13, There's just some bugs that just will not go, and I've probably spent a couple hours over 2 or 3, 4 different days and tried to reinstall it 7 or 8 times and just kept failing and failing. And so rather than continue to troubleshoot that and have AI troubleshoot that, I think I'm going to pivot to, like I mentioned, Image, and then use that for photo syncing software. I think it has all the features that I'm looking for to do photo backups and all that kind of stuff. So there you have it for this week's tech updates. Talk to you guys later.